All right. Hello, everyone. How's it going? Um, Hopefully y'all can hear me okay. I'm Sanjay. I am on the marketing department for Nisei, and not really part of marketing, but I just have been trying to interview some of our people, find out what's going on, and lots of stuff is going on with organized play coming up, and so I am thrilled to have two of the organized play members on here. Let me introduce them. First off, we got Orbital Tangent, aka Josh, aka the authority on orbital superiority, or at least conversations about them, aka the co-host of Netrunner's OKS podcast, aka the person who put Off the Grid on the map, and aka the organized play manager of our organization. Hi, Josh. It's great to have you.
Hello. Good to be here.
And we have Ysengrin, aka Jeff, aka the Netrunner Analyst Extraordinaire, aka the Scion of Single Sided Swiss, and our online events coordinator. Hi, Jeff. It's great to have you as well. Hello, hello.
I hit mute on my microphone and then forgot to unhit the mute. Hello, everyone. It's nice to be here.
It's
This is
nice.
how professional I am.
Hey, it's nice to have you. All right, so the reason I wanted y'all on here is because there's 10 million things I could talk to y'all about. Truthfully, we could spend this whole interview talking about my second favorite document on the Nisei webpage, the organized play document, second only to the comprehensive rules. But today we're going to be talking about mainly what's coming up for organized play because they're look at this organized play policies. I love this document. Anyway, there's a lot of very exciting things coming up. But before we get started, can I just ask you about you? Um, Josh, can you start us off? How did you get into Netrunner? How did you get involved in our organization? Why organized play?
Oh, absolutely. Um, I will tell you all about me. I love to talk about me. Um,
I will cut you off if
and
I need to.
all right. I mean, anybody that's met me knows the spiel, so I'll give you the Cliff's notes. But I started about halfway through Genesis. I got into Netrunner through a friend who knew some FFG homies, and he was like, "You should come to this event where they're announcing some new stuff for FFG." It turned out to be that they were announcing the Zenter. Um, and I don't know. We just played a couple of games, and then I decided to just go all in and buy it all. Um, so I got involved with Nisei after the announcement of the cancellation of Netrunner. Um, I actually worked with Jade to put together the selection committee that selected the original board. So I don't brag about this too much, but technically one of the founders. Um, and really, it's just because Netrunner has been such a huge part of like my gaming hobby. It's really been something that has helped me grow as a gamer and as a person. And it was super important to me that Magnum Opus was not the end of Netrunner. Period. Um, and then why organized play? Because I run tournaments. Because I love tournaments. Because I love running events. Um, really, honestly, one of the best things about running events is that you get to be the fun bringer. Basically, a bunch of people come in, they flop down cards, they play the greatest game ever made, but you get that little thing in the back of your brain, that little high that goes, you know, you're here because I put this together, and it's fantastic that you are having fun right now. I just really like to give people the opportunity to have experiences they wouldn't otherwise be able to have. Um, and that's what you get when you organize events. You get to help people have fun and see their smiles as a result.
That's a beautiful answer. Jeff, same questions. How did you get into Netrunner? How did you get involved with Nisei? And why are you involved in organized play?
So I got into Netrunner, I think, as was pretty common. So I got into Netrunner in about 2014, I believe. And as many people at the time, I was hit by the 1-2 punch of Shut Up and Sit Down, followed by Terminal 7. And I started listening to the podcast before ever purchasing the game, and then put it on a Christmas list for my then girlfriend and now wife to get for me, and said, probably don't get this because you're not going to enjoy it, but I probably will love it. And unsurprisingly, I love it. She does not, but that's okay. We've got many other great things. But I basically played like just with dorm mates and kind of locally to my area for another 2 to 3 years, moved around a little bit and played in different metas, but only really got seriously into playing tournament Netrunner and kind of, I would say, getting good at Netrunner really right around the time of the FFG announcement, end of game announcement. And so I was kind of playing, and then during COVID, I was like, I knew some friends who were in playtesting, and I said, oh, you know what? I'd love to get some more insight onto what's going on, and it sounds like they need playtesters. So I started doing playtesting, and I just grew more and more in love with the game. Got to play with more and more people who were really good, which then made me better, which meant I was more involved in tournament play and organizing. And so I went from playtesting and then applied to organized play, sort of honestly for me as a Trojan horse to get single-sided Swiss in, because in the intervening year, I'd become very invested in trying to increase the parity of Netrunner tournaments, or at least my perceived version of parity, I should say. And I've been running some other small kind of non-Nisei events, and it just, I think tournament Netrunner play, like, I know it's not everyone needs to have a drive to play in tournaments or want to play in tournaments, but I think there's something really special about just the game of Netrunner when you start looking at it through the lens of the incentives of a tournament structure, and like trying to play the game in a way that's like looking to maximize wins, but in the process of doing that, you learn so much more than you do by just kind of going, let's play something on the kitchen table. I think it shows some of the cool nuances in the game that can otherwise kind of miss you by.
Yeah, I think I that resonates with me. I think even if you're not like very excited about being the very very best, which is sometimes a coping mechanism that I use to when I don't do well. It's like, I'm not even interested. Just having the like little bit raised stakes of having, oh, this game matters. Just elevates the game in a really exciting way. That's a great answer, Jeff. Thank you. Um, would you two just briefly, I think calling yourselves the Fun Bringers is actually a pretty good um, summary. But could you expand maybe a little bit more on what is the scope of organized play? Like, what do y'all do? Jeff, you want to take that? Or
Um,
yeah, actually, J- sorry, I should probably be picking people. Josh, you started talking first. Do you wanna take that one?
okay. So organized play, our goal really is to facilitate TOs, first and foremost, tournament organizers, at local and regional areas. So we do that through producing kits that normally we produce at cost or at a loss, and we sell those on to tournament organizers during certain open periods so that they can run their own tournaments in their local areas. We're going to continue to do that as long as we can, as long as the money holds out. And that's one of the primary things that we do. But the other thing that we do is we organize the online and in-person events of mostly continentals and the World Championship. So our goal really is to facilitate event running. Now, that doesn't just mean competitive events, although that's one of our that's our primary as far as organized play goes. But we do every so often release game night kits, which are normally 2 cards print on demand. You can buy those kits from DTC and MPC. And those are designed to be prizes for just normal meetup nights or leagues. We would like to do more casual stuff and more startup focused stuff in the future. Didn't really work out for 2022 because we had to really kind of right the ship as far as organized play went. Not that PSK and Navi or aka Akira did not do a fantastic job prior to us. It's just that they got a little bit burned out. Life happened. We really had to like rebuild the team. But really, we facilitate play is what we do. It's kind of in the name. I don't know if that answered your question or
No,
if I
that's
just rambled
no,
for
that's
about 5 minutes.
that's lovely. And I think one of the motivators for me to have this interview this weekend and not procrastinate it on any longer is that we have some events coming up very, very soon.
Yeah.
Especially if you're excited about online play. Um, Jeff, you want to talk about what we have coming up?
Yeah, so we've got a really packed, basically 5 weeks with a 1 week off in there, I think. So we've got the Continental Championships for both the APAC region, so the Asia Pacific Continental Championship, the Americas, Continental Championship, and the European and Africa Continental Championship. All three of these events are open to any person. You can only register in one event, but you can register in any event regardless of where you are in the world. They're just named for the time zones. And these are probably the largest online event that we are going to host in a given year, though we have some interesting stuff in the pipeline with the circuit breaker that's coming at the end of the year. But these are going to be our premier, full open, anyone can show up and play kind of tournaments. And they're expected to be, I think there's been a lot of talk about like, oh, there's good decks out there and no one's playing them. The reason people are sitting back and hiding decks is because they want to win these like really large. In the last couple of years, some of them have had over 100 people in them tournaments, and kind of show that they are some of the best at Netrunner, or just have a great day from home playing Netrunner against people you may never get a chance to. So but let's see. Oh,
Yeah,
I'm not supposed
and that's coming next weekend. Like if you want to
Yeah.
do the Asia Pacific tournament, if that's the time zone that works best for you, that's in a week. And I think one of the things I will say, I love in-person Netrunner. I love it so much, but there is a convenience to online Netrunner play, and especially if you can talk to your opponent, it's an approximation of how great in-person Netrunner is,
Mhm.
um, and I love that we're keeping going, like high stakes, big ticket online play. Especially when you hear about people who you know never have been able to go to Worlds or any big tournaments, but like, hey, I can go to this. It makes me really happy.
Yeah, I was a big advocate of like, oh, the point of Netrunner is in-person play, and over the pandemic, I think it really showed how valuable online play can be at making this game like just way more accessible than people thought. And while I do think like as someone like I would always prefer to play a game uh in person than online, I think there's like the game is still so fundamentally good, and you get there's still a real richness of experience to playing online, and there's lots of ways you can make the experience uh like there's a lot of ways you can really enrich the experience of an online play. And maybe we'll even talk about some of those later on, like other ways beyond just showing up to this tournament and being ready for these to have the best possible day you can.
Oh,
But
that's a great. I'm gonna add that into the end of the thing. How can you have the best possible day? That's a, that's great. Yeah. Um,
Yeah, and I forgot to say, winning or getting in the top six. I'm trying to remember of these continental championships. I should know this number off the top of my head. Maybe it's top four. Um, Gets you entry into the intercontinental championship. Um, yeah, okay, it's top four, which is sort of a it's like slightly more casual, but it is basically by definition the sharkiest tournament that we host, where it's an invite only and it's top 12 players across these three regions that are going to battle it out in a fun kind of format to see how the meta has settled after 3 weeks. One of the cool things about these large events is you get to see everyone come in with their ideas, and then over the course of 3 weeks, we find out which ideas really are the cream of the crop, and then the intercontinental is a way for everyone to kind of say, no, I think I've got the final correct read on the meta, which is quite cool.
yeah. Last.
Oh yeah, the cream of the crop. We got those netrunner dicks, and they're gonna be running those nets.
That's a good.
Sorry.
No, actually, on the screen right now we have one of the more exciting prize support items from Continentals and Intercontinentals. Josh, do you want to talk to us about what you've been doing, what organized play has been doing with prize support generally, and also what we have to offer for Continentals and Intercontinentals broadly, or specifically?
Okay. Yeah, I'll take that. Before I get into that, there's a couple of things that I want to say about intercontinentals and continentals and online play in general. Just quickly here. So number one, I do think it's really important that if you're going to do online play, that you have a mic. One of the things to really make it feel like it's not just a proxy for in-person play is to be able to speak to your opponent. Um, just banter even is going to make that game so much more enjoyable. So that's number one. So number two is, and these are a bit of pre-scoops here, but I'm allowed to do that. One of the things that we're going to explore in 2023 is one of these continental championships will likely return to in-person play, while the other two are going to remain online. APAC is going to remain online indefinitely just because logistically it's the hardest tournament for us to try to do in person. And it would probably, and I hate to say this, but it would probably be the least attended because it covers the widest region. But with the American and European Continental Championships, the idea that we may move forward with, and keep in mind, this is in the ideation stage. This isn't locked in stone yet, but we are thinking about the continent that is not going to host Worlds that year. We'll do an in-person Continental Championship.
Oh, exciting.
Um, Yeah, so that way we have one large in-person event per continent each year. Um, don't know the viability of that yet. It's just an idea that's being floated, and the reason it's being floated is European folks did express to us they were like, "Oh, it would really suck for in-person Euros to go away forever." Um, So that's something that we'll explore the viability of. And then number two, Intercontinentals is going to work the way that it worked last year, but a little bit different. Um, so it is basically a triple elimination, and the way that it worked last year was it was sort of a bracket. Um, Whereas this year, the pairings are going to be almost completely random. So it is going to be a format that is you have essentially 3 lives, fight for your life. Once you lose 3 times, you are done. You're out, and then at the end, we crown a winner.
It was a really
So
fun viewing experience last time. I'm excited for presumably watching, but probably realistically participating in intercontinentals.
yeah, Yeah, so yeah, it's super high stakes. Getting knocked out is sort of a very edgy sort of thing. Um, yeah, I mean it's not your traditional way of doing a cut or crowning a champion, but yeah, as a viewing experience, it's just very fun because you get to come in and out of the stream. Oh, I'm going to check the standings. Oh, geez, White Blade only has one life left. How far is he gonna go? So we're gonna keep going with that. It seemed pretty successful the last couple of years. Um, I lost the thread here.
No,
You
that was
asked an
that was
actual
good.
question.
That was good.
Yeah.
Swery Princess in the chat clarifying that mics are not essential. Like you don't have to have a mic. It's just a nice
Oh,
recommendation that
correct.
like it transforms the experience in a really fun way. Also, I mean, even outside of tournament play, if you haven't played Netrunner with your friends on a mic, it's really lovely. Jeff, you were gonna talk.
I was, and then the dog kept barking in the background, and I've lost my train of thought entirely. The other event that is coming, like the Invitational Championship is happening on September 10th, and basically 4 weeks later is Worlds, which is the other big. Well, there's going to be a whole other event after that, but this is the other big one that we're putting a lot of effort in as a team right now, and we really I this is Josh's baby. The amount of work he's been putting into this is just phenomenal, and I'm really excited for everyone who can make it out. And the message that we're going to hit again and again is you don't need to be trying to win the whole tournament for this to be worth your time. I'm looking forward to going to my first Worlds, and I don't think I would have a snowball's chance in hell of making it to the top tables. But I'm super looking forward to having just a fun time with all the Netrunner people. So
I will push back. I do think I have higher. I think very highly of you as a Netrunner player. Actually, I you have more than a snowball's chance. Um, yeah. Anyway.
given that I'm judging this year, I probably do have a snowball's chance. I've got
Oh,
to like
gotcha.
EQ everyone in the world, but you never know. I'll carve something into the OPP and see if
Oh,
anyone
I didn't realize
notices.
you weren't playing. Okay, that does make it less likely. Yes. Um, oh, what that was a trick. Yeah. So I think in terms of things that audience, coming up very soon, you should be aware of Continentals, but also Worlds is coming up, and some of the dates that you need to be aware of are very, very soon. Um, the I think there's block hotels. Actually, Josh, do you want to talk about the lodging situation? In terms of like the rooms that are like set aside that people need to get in on by the 8th of September.
Yeah. So we have lodging blocked out with the hotel, the Sheridan Center, in Toronto, which is where the event is also going to be held. So if you want the closest hotel, then it's this one because it's literally inside this hotel that we're hosting the event. So we've got 100 rooms per night, except Sunday, in which we have 75. Um, so basically, it's the lowest rate that you can get for these hotel rooms at this particular hotel. You got to book by September 8th using that phone number that we have in there or the link, or you can't get that rate. Um, we also do have to fill 80% of the rooms, or we're going to be on the hook for a concession to the hotel. So, also, if you want to help us out, book a room through that link or through that phone number. Um, it's no problem, by the way, if we do have to pay the concession. It's just it's something that we want to avoid if we can. And again, the benefit to you is that it's the lowest rate that you can get at this hotel, the absolute lowest rate. It's like really low. It's lower than they were going to charge us last year, and it's right on site.
So
So you can roll out of bed and then get your cup of coffee and come to the tournament hall like 10 minutes before registration closes. Don't do that. Don't do that, but you can.
I mean, I think it's pretty well documented that. Oh, one question in the chat: how many rooms are filled at this point? Do you have a percent estimate or?
So we're a little bit over a third, so a little under 40% at this
Oh,
point.
not bad.
So it's not bad. Netrunner players are notoriously last minute. I
Yeah.
expect that to fill up closer as we get closer to the event. But also, you only have about a month here, so we really want to stress like get your room sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I think as tournament organizers, we have to love Netrunner players because they're who we're making stuff for. But goodness, if they plan things more in advance, it would make things easier for us, wouldn't it?
Absolutely, but I still love them.
Yeah. And also, I think it's pretty well documented that the better rested you are, the better you do at a Netrunner tournament. And so, you can roll out in your jammies, come to Netrunner in your PJs, and just go straight back to bed. Get ready for day 2. You're gonna have percentages added to your win percentage if you stay here.
Sanjay has the elite strats here.
Yeah,
the elite strats.
Eat a banana, sleep well. It'll make you better at Netrunner.
Oh my goodness.
um,
Advice I don't want to hear, but advice I desperately need.
yeah, it'll be hard because the thing about Worlds is that not only does it offer some really high level Netrunner play, especially if you're doing really well and you are paired up against other people who are doing really well, that's going to be the really high level. You also, besides getting low level play if you're losing a lot, and that can be really fun, you also it's also a Netrunner party. You're surrounded by people who love Netrunner, and sometimes it's hard to get a lot of sleep because you're enjoying the socializing so much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's
Go ahead, Jeff.
I was gonna say there's like Worlds is to some like it is a tournament, but it's almost like it really is an excuse for a bunch of people that all have the same obsessive interest in a weird hobby to get together and hang out. And like because it's a game, we have to have a tournament. But like the reality is for a bunch of people, this is an event where they get to come, they get to spend, if you're coming for the 7th, you get to play a team event, which is like such a like it makes the game of Netrunner somehow even more exciting and more interesting. And then on day 2, October 8th, the standard main event, I think most people will be there for taking that super seriously. But for a lot of people, that day is going to finish, by early afternoon, and so the rest of the evening they're going to, have fun. We don't, we go to cities because they're easy to get to, but also because they have a lot of things to do, and you're going to be surrounded by people that you can talk about. For at least you'll have at least one hobby to start every conversation with, and you'll probably find out that you have many more. And then day 3, we've got the startup event, and the cut for the standard half. We'll also be throwing off pods of other weird formats. So some of those weird formats will be eternal, but there'll probably be some other ones that people can talk about. There's usually some drafting and cubing and stuff like that. So it's gonna be just a whole lot of fun.
Yeah, and I think oh, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, everybody should come and because it's my party and I want it to be well attended. No, I'm just kidding. It's actually our party. Let's be clear here. It's a party for everyone. But also, like I think Jeff hit the nail on the head. Really, this is a celebration of Netrunner more than it's a tournament, and it's a celebration of this community. So, really, people shouldn't be scared to come to Worlds, even if they, do want to compete. Like, don't beat yourself up if you're not going to take down the entire tournament. Statistically, only one person can, so everybody else is not the winner of that tournament and therefore not the champion. So, statistically, you're not probably going to be the winner. and that's fine. As Jeff was saying, really these tournaments exist to give us an excuse, because what you're going to find is that at a lot of these world championship events, eh, people, they're going to want to hang out, they're going to want to get dinner, they're going to want to play other board games, they'll play side games of Netrunner. We will facilitate side events. Not only are we going to try to facilitate the pods on Sunday, but if anybody puts together a side event on a Friday or a Saturday, I'm going to have stacks of cards on site, and I will toss things at people, just because they are running something, and you'll have opportunities for so much prizing that's related to Netrunner, experiences that aren't related to Netrunner, um, and really, what's just the absolute coolest thing about Worlds is you get to step into a room with a group of like-minded individuals. I know that a lot of people, like, the standard cliche about game communities is our community is different. Our community, there's something unique about it. The thing about Netrunner as a community is I think that that's actually true. Um, this community is so very welcoming, so very inclusive, so just wants to have fun and just while out. Um, I think that this event really displays that more than anything else whenever we do it. Um, because you're gonna notice that there's gonna be more of a con atmosphere and a celebration atmosphere than a really sharky tournament atmosphere. And to facilitate that, one of the other things that people should be aware of is that um, Dan Bouchard, is going to be running a merch booth, which is going to have all sorts of awesome stuff, um, like faction hats and shirts and pins and cards and all sorts of stuff like that. Um, he hasn't really announced what's going to be in the merch booth. I just know it's going to be a lot of awesome stuff. And we're going to have what we call Artist Colony, which is this group of tables that I'm setting aside specifically for community members that bring in 3D printed stuff, tokens, their own alt art cards. Uh, one year, the lady who was mean to me did boxes, which were these really awesome 3D printed and laser cut boxes for decks. So we're gonna do that for the first time ever this year, but even next year, we're thinking about like expanding that sort of con atmosphere, and maybe even inviting other similar organizations to us to have space at our event. So, um, really, I can't stress enough that if you're scared to come because it's a tournament, like, don't be. There's going to be so much more to do, and there's going to be so much other stuff that it'll make it enjoyable. The tournament's just kind of window dressing for those who aren't really going to shark it out.
Yeah, I think some of the things I'm so excited about. I'm actually not able to go because of my job and I have a new baby. So I'm excited about that. But for me, like the last worlds I attended, the artist, Netrunner has a subgroup within the subgroup of people who are excited to make, unofficial alt arts and Netrunner art and Netrunner craft. And the last time we had a little artist gathering, it was in the lobby of the hotel closest to the event because um, you know it's bootleg, right? We didn't want to sell in FFG headquarters, and it was just delightful. And I love that the artist alley sounds really exciting. And yeah, and I forgot where I was going with that. Um, Oh, I did want to also mention just I we had this interview today to hype up Worlds and what we have coming up, and that the very same day there's this amazing open letter that Greg Tung wrote uh, about why you should go to Worlds. If people have not read it, I'm going to link to it in the chat right now. It's really, really good, just to sort of hype up the event. Now, yeah.
Sanjay, I think you got censored by the bot, is my guess here.
Oh, did I really? Funny. Man.
All I see is 3 asterisks from you, so that's
Oh,
unfortunate. We'll
okay.
have to.
All right. I'm going to tell everybody go to Reddit and Greg Tung
Yeah.
posted it there. You can find it. It's really good. There's an open letter on Reddit. Yeah, I go there every day, honestly. I'll also say, what was it? What else I was gonna say? I forgot. Oh, what if now Nisei does not have any official programs to if you if it's not financially in your means to go to Worlds, but you'd be interested in going to Worlds. We don't have any official things that could help you, but there is this the Run Together fundraiser. Um, this is something you can find on Near Earth Hub. If you are interested in going to Worlds, but it doesn't make financial sense for you, um, Dan B put together. He got a bunch of different artists to donate art for this initiative. It's some really great art also, and the funds from selling these packs are to help people go to Worlds if they're interested. Um, and I think don't say, oh, I don't need the support. There's an application, so if you say, hey, I've been chilling all day on my yacht, but I don't feel like wiring the funds from my 7 million trust accounts to go to Worlds. Um, Let Dan B reject your application. Please apply if you want to go to Worlds and you would like some financial assistance to do it. Please apply. We'd really love to have you. Yeah. All right. I'm monologuing. This
That's
is a bad interviewing technique. Sorry. Go ahead.
this is another thing that I love all of you, but I also kind of hate about Netrunner players is a lot of you think that you don't deserve help. Okay, and I'm here to tell you, you do. You know, your situation. It doesn't matter how privileged you think you are, or how well you think you have it. If you need help, you're not taking a slot. You're not taking away from somebody else. What Dan is running into with Run Together here is he is running into a situation where he's having more money than applications. Okay, and it's because y'all are too nice.
It's because
You
people
deserve the
want this
help as much
moth.
as anybody else. Okay, so if you in any way can't make it because it doesn't make financial sense, but you think you are privileged for some reason, just apply. Please, just apply. Give Dan more people to help. Get yourself there if you want to go. Worst case, you apply. Dan figures out that somebody needs it more, and you wasted a couple of minutes. But also, best case, he selects you, which is a decent probability right now because again he's running out of people to help, and you get to go when you otherwise wouldn't have got to go. We want this event to be well attended, not for any prestige reasons, not to say that it's huge, but because again it's a celebration of the community and the people in the community, and every single one of you is deserving. So don't get into that mentality of I just want it to be saved for somebody else. Be a little bit selfish. You know, apply and get that assistance. Okay.
Yeah, we want to see you there. I mean, yeah.
Absolutely.
Let's. Is it okay if we move on from Worlds? Is there other stuff we want to talk about?
Uh,
About.
yeah, I mean, we can move on. I just do
Yeah, yeah.
want to remind everybody that the hotel booking does end September 8th, and you should try to book as soon as possible. Um, the tickets themselves will be available up until the night before each event. So booking your travel is probably the most important thing right now, and you can hold off on the tickets if you need to.
Yeah. So yeah, and I mean, for a lot of people, this is international travel, so figure it out now. Um, yeah, I mean, I think unfortunately, the funds are not such that if your job requires you if your job is getting in the way or your family's getting in the way, um, you know, Dan B doesn't have the funds to buy you a new family or get you a new job. But um, yeah, Suchworth in the chat asking, "How are you doing, Jeff? How are you doing?"
I'm doing pretty well. Yeah, no, I'm. It's been a good day so far. So
Nice, Josh. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm good, man. I'm not gonna break myself going to Worlds here. We we're doing pretty good life wise and job wise and all that happy fun stuff. And today is a fantastic day because I get to talk about my favoriteest thing, which is running events and playing Netrunner.
Yeah.
So
I also think, I mean, I gotta imagine in the organized play department, like, I know you all still have work to do, but, like, you've been doing work, and now it's, like, coming to fruition. Like, there's been a lot of stuff that you've had to do to get Continentals lined up, and, like, they're gonna happen, and it's gonna rule. And there's a lot that you've done already to get Worlds lined up, and it's gonna happen, and it's gonna rule. And I'm really excited for the work that you all have done to, have its rewards. It's gonna be great. Um, so some other organized play stuff. But yeah, again, get the September 8th for the group rate on the hotels. You can get your tickets late. Get your travel figure out. Get your lodging figure out. Worlds. It's really lovely. Some other stuff coming up. I don't think nationals are still happening. Some nats have already happened. Some are still to come. You can find out if there's national championships near you on Always Be Running. Um, so if they're oh, one other thing I wanted to mention or ask you about. I know we've been talking in like in Nisei stuff about how like we're thinking about how the website can have information better findable for when you want to find it. But for right now, like if you're on the website and you want to find organized play stuff, you're like, I want to know what Nisei's hosting. I want to know about the big events. Where should you go? How should you find that?
so the easiest way is going to be to perform a search. Um, Eventually, we do want to reorganize the menu structure that's at the top right. Um, Obviously, if you're looking for stuff like the organized play policies and the rules and stuff like that, you can go under the headers for players and organizers. Um, but yes, the best way is the search, like Sanjay just showed here. Little magnifying glass top right. You can search for Worlds, World Championship, organized play. Um, Basically, think of it as like Google for our website. Um, there's
But
also a series of tags at the bottom of each of these articles. You should be able to click on those tags and see more articles of the same type. Um,
yeah, the tags. I
so
I was gonna say the tags. Like I really like those. They're a very good way
yeah,
to.
so almost all of organized play's articles should be marked as organized play. or if it's related to the Continental or World Championship tournaments, it'll be marked as tournaments and events. So if you click on one of those tags, it should pull up additional articles related to that sort of information. Um, and then from there, you can just find the article that you want. Uh, a lot of our ticketing articles are going to be labeled clearly that it's about ticketing and lodging in the case of Worlds. So, um, yeah, I mean, there's a couple of different ways to play jazz as far as getting around.
That makes sense. Cool, cool, cool. Uh, oh, I did want to ask also about what's going on with the. So there's a. So I hosted a circuit opener, and I gave away
Hmm.
one little ticket to this thing, the 2022 Circuit Breaker. Can y'all tell me about this? Um, what's going on with the?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So tentatively, this is going to be in November. What this is an invite-only tournament to anybody that's won um, a circuit opener, a nationals, um, and yeah, that's actually it. It's circuit openers or nationals. Um, the continentals are actually your invite is to intercontinentals, so
Right.
that's they're sort of separate circuits a little bit. Um, your tournament has to have had 8 people or more. If it had 24 people or more, you can offer 2 invites. Um, but this is going to be a online standard tournament that's invite only, and it's going to run very similar to how we would run a Continentals or a Worlds online, where we are going to do a Swiss and then a cut. And then the ultimate champion of this event is going to be declared the Circuit Breaker as a title. And that title comes along with additional prizing. Just like a lot of things, we're still figuring out the prizing entirely for this event. But one of the things that you are going to get that we can tell you right now is you will get what we call a reigning champion card. And this is a bit of a concession to the design and dev departments who felt we were doing too many champion cards. So, unfortunately, the only way you can win a champion card at this time is to win Worlds, and specifically standard at Worlds. However, with this reigning champion card that you win at the Circuit Breaker Invitational, um, you get a commission of your choice of any sort of cyberpunk scene that you would like. It may include you as a character if you wish, although it doesn't need to. If for whatever reason you don't want to be on the art, that is also fine. Um, but we are suggesting, if people want to, that they put themselves on there. And then when the same tournament that you won rolls around next year, one of the promotional cards, one of the alt arts, will have your piece of art on it, and you specifically get to work with organized play to select the card. Now, we're not going to allow every single card. You're going to work with us. You're not going to tell us what card we're going to use, but we'll work with people. And it's the same with the art. You don't get whatever you want. I mean, there's going to be, obviously, it can't be anything dirty or lewd or anything of that nature. But for the most part, we are open with working with people, getting their ideas, and really getting them something that they can be proud of for their art, and then a promo to really fit that art and make that special. And we think this is a great alternative prize to designing your own card because it's the ultimate form of bragging rights. Hey, guess who won this tournament last year? It was me. And you get an alt art to remind you of that.
Am, and am I right that we're going to see the first reigning champion card as the prize support for Continentals? Is that correct?
That's correct. So
Yeah.
it wasn't specifically awarded to Sokka, last year. We just retroactively decided to work with Sokka um, to make a card for him, just to show everybody without having to wait a whole year how the reigning champion card works without a huge time delay in that.
Oh, that's really smart.
But yes, that is yet to be revealed. We are going to reveal that day one of the Continental Championships as a kickoff. And then this is how we're going to do it every single year: is the champion card for Continentals at least is going to be a bit of a mystery. And then those bragging rights happen day one. We're going to put it in front of everybody's faces. Here's the card. Here's what it is. You know,
Oh,
um,
cool.
I'm really excited to just kind of see how that works and if that's enjoyable.
Yeah, and also I mean, you go with who you got, but also like Sokka's a delight, and I'm glad that they're gonna be celebrated on a card. I love
Yeah,
APAC Continental Champions as a group. I gotta say, what a esteemed set of people. Anyway, um, uh, hey,
it's way more Canadian than you would expect.
yeah, the C stands for Canada, unfortunately. Um, um, Jeff, can I ask you? Can we double back to your question of how you have the best possible day at a tournament? Um,
Yeah, for sure. I would say first, I would similarly to how Greg put out an article on why you should go to Worlds. Eric Keelback, also known as Whiteblade, put out a really good article on stimhack.com that is everything you need to know about tournaments besides playing Netrunner, which I would definitely recommend giving a read. Um, in there, it talks about pre-tournament prep if you're trying really hard, but it also talks about pre-tournament prep like Sanjay talked about, like eating a banana and getting a good night's sleep, having water available, things like that. Um, you know, understanding what the format's going to look like. Make sure you know when deck lists are due. Like, just try and reduce your stress as much as possible. But the other thing I was going to really go and suggest is go and find a community Discord and hang out. I think I found my first online event was like pretty sterile and kind of unfun. But my second one, where I had a group of people I was talking with, and we all sort of knew each other at least a little bit from online, we could go, when someone went, I swept, we'd all cheer. And when someone got swept, we said, oh no, you'll get them next round. And it caused there to, even though I was alone at my desk, eating a PB&J or whatever, like I felt like I was still part of this community. So if you like don't have, it maybe GLC or Stim Slack is a good place to do it. It might be worth having a slightly smaller group so that you can chat with each other and talk about, the individual, the war stories and horror stories of your matchups throughout the day. For me, that's been the thing that has helped me enjoy online tournaments so much more than because it's one of the big things I often find I'm missing in Netrunner tournaments is not so much the dialogue with my opponent. I know that's super important for some people, but um, I find that it's not the most critical thing for me. But having people I can talk to after the match and say, oh, I was so close to beating Sanjay if I didn't just play like a dummy in my 2-for-1 match or something like that. Having people to talk to about that really brings the experience home in a big way for me. That was probably my big one, really. But I don't know if Orbital or Sanjay, if you guys have other ones.
yeah, Josh, do you want to add on to that? How can you have the
Oh,
best Oh, go ahead.
I'm just going to reiterate that keep yourself hydrated and fed is elite advice. um, Especially online tournaments, it's really easy to just sit down at your desk and sort of forget about your body, so to speak. And you really shouldn't do that. Make sure that you eat and stay hydrated and don't stay plugged into your computer. Also, the another pro strat as far as online tournaments go is get up and walk around a little bit. Um, really get the blood flowing. I know that I have been guilty myself of the online worlds tournaments, kind of sitting down at my desk and then just vegging for 12 hours. Not not really the best thing that you want to do if you don't want to feel lethargic at the end. So, um, just uh, just getting up and moving around a little bit between rounds is really good. Um, the other thing too is it's in your home, so those online tournaments. Or the online tournaments are in your home. Worlds won't be, obviously. That'd be weird.
Unless you live in the Sheridan, it could happen. It's the
Yeah,
plot of Wizards of Waverly, or no, it's the plot of Sweet Life of Zack and Cody.
but on the flip side, you also could make yourself comfortable. So, like one of the things that I really enjoyed at online worlds was, well, I had a 6 pack of beers. You know, I can sit down to my game and have a beer if I want. Um, obviously, if you're doing that, keep an even closer eye on your hydration. But you can really make it enjoyable for yourself in whatever way that's going to make you comfortable. So, um, that's what I would suggest. Is just really doing the things that are make you comfortable and keep your body fueled.
I think that's beautiful. Um, do we have time for a few last organized play topics that I was? It would be fun to talk to you two about. Or should we wrap things up?
I have all the time in
I've,
the world for you.
All right.
I've definitely got time for a couple of extra questions.
Okay.
So
So the first thing I wanted to just ask your opinion on is, as organized play people, let's say you're in somewhere, and I don't know. Actually, I don't know if either how much experience you two have about this. I have modest, not great amounts of experience with this. But if you're somewhere where there's not organized play happening, like there wasn't a circuit opener where you're at, there isn't a weekly meetup. Um, what can you do to get that started? What advice do you have for like a starting tournament organizer? I'm actually not sure how much experience
yeah,
you two have with that, so maybe you're not the people to ask,
uh,
but I was wondering
yeah.
what you thought
I
about
mean,
it.
yeah. So I will say, like I'm in an area that had a very active meta pre-pandemic, and post-pandemic, we've been having all of the stresses that I think a lot of places that don't have a meta had. Where for us, the place we used to go no longer is accepting us in the same way they were before. Um, and some of our like stalwart players have moved away or for health reasons don't feel like they can come out. So we have had to do a little bit of a rebuild. So the steps that I went through was just being sure, let's make sure there's at least some people in the area. And so the way I'll do that is I'll go to GLC, I'll go to Stim Slack. At some point, Nisei has a resource about how to like finding local metas and check to see who's there. Um, but then you kind of have to put feelers out and just announce in as many places as you can, um, like what your plan is. And for us, it was like, oh, you know what? We know that there's free seats at a brewery. We'll try and meet a couple people up there, and then we will sit down together, find a date for everyone who can show up, we'll host an event, and then make sure to publicize that as much as you can in the channels you can, and run an event. And the first event I ran here, it had lower attendance than I was hopeful for, but it had way more new people than I was expecting. Um, and for those of that's I'm fairly fortunate to be in a fairly dense area, so I could do that at some risk and be at least fairly confident that there would be some people to show up. Um, but I think that's sort of the way you get this going is like you just got to get a small cadre of people. It can be as small as 2 or 4 or whatever, and just start showing up and hosting things, and it will you'll build up that momentum, um, kind of by being regular, by showing up and running events. I think that's been my takeaway of this experience of trying to get my local meta restarted.
That's really good. Thank you. Josh, do you have anything you want to add?
Yeah. So just kind of going back onto the event organizing side of that. I think the most important thing is consistency. Um, so if those of y'all didn't know me, I'm also the guy that put together something called Off the Grid or OTG, and we've been running that for 5 years now. Um, and the whole thing with that is that started local and it started small. Um, the most recent one was also small, but for other reasons. But the one prior to the most recent one was 50 people. Um, I didn't start that series of tournaments planning to have that many people, and you really can't. You do have to accept that your first tournaments are going to be small, and that's fine. What you should do is you should put together just a kit from us. Get a GNK, get a circuit opener kit when they're available. They're not available right now, but get those small kits, and you don't have to add anything else. They're designed to be just a complete experience that you can use. And do what Jeff said, and just advertise as much as you can. Tell people what's going on. And again, your first one is maybe going to be small, but then try to do it again, and then try to do it again after that, and then try to do it again after that. What you're going to find is that you are going to um, be known to be a consistent and stable quantity, and because of that, people are going to start to latch onto that. It's the same thing with game nights. Um, if you want to build a community, you pick a night, you be consistent, you make sure that a couple of people show up, even if that's just you and a sparring partner, and you are available so that people that are interested know that there's something going on, they know it's consistent, and they know that they can get into it. As far as getting new people, it's the same sort of thing as a tournament. Um, Getting out there as much as possible, being noisy about it. Jeff touched on this. But to expand on that, one of the things that you can do is it is $20 per starter deck on DTC for Gateway. And I myself have about 6 of those, just standard starter decks. You can ask your local venues if you can do game demos. Now, some of them might not be open to that. You do have to be prepared to be told no, because they generally want demos for products that they can sell, which unfortunately we don't have product on store shelves right now. Um, but the other friendly local game stores may say sure. And just pick a night where there are a bunch of people coming in, fellow card floppers. Magic the Gathering nights are great. And set up and ask people if they would like to learn to play Netrunner. Um, you may get more misses than hits, but every hit is very important. And if you're consistent with doing tournaments and game nights, or at least consistent in advertising for another TO in your region that is, you're gonna get people, and you're gonna build slowly. It takes work, it takes effort, but it's not really as hard as you would think. It's just rolling with the punches and realizing that you're going to have misses here and there. Starting
Yeah,
small.
one thing I'll also throw in is if you're like, oh, I would throw a tournament, but I'm worried that I don't know enough to be a tournament organizer. I think the barrier to running a good tournament is much lower than people think it is. Really, the most important thing is that there's someone there to say, this is the time and date this is happening. And then as the TO, you have a couple of administrative responsibilities you don't have as a regular player. but those are generally just recording what people have, watching time on the round, and helping people figure out the answer to their questions. Um, you don't have to be a rules expert to run a tournament. You don't have to have backwards and forwards knowledge of how to use Cobra or whatever. People in the Netrunner community are incredibly generous with their time. I've run a tournament where I was using some custom pairing software and it broke, and people waited an hour for me to try and find a solution. People love this game; they love to play. Um, Really, the big thing that I would say, like, if you're a tournament organizer, ask one or two people. Like, I have a little script I've sent out to people for like what I do at what I say at the start of a tournament, and I think we're going to try and put something up like that formally. Maybe I'll go see if I can find that script. Um, but basically, your job is to facilitate, and it's okay if you don't do everything perfectly your first try. No one's expecting you to, and that doesn't need to be the barrier you hold yourself to. Don't let the don't let perfect be the enemy of the good in the case of tournament organizer and scene building. It really is the same kind of idea of you're not going to get
Mhm.
to a thriving multi-table meta that meets up every week all in one go. You're gonna have bumps in the road, um, and it's gonna take work to get through. But it's worth the effort, and the people will be generous with that. So
Absolutely. It's sort of like starting a new D&D campaign or being a new dungeon master as well. If your scene is new, especially, nobody's going to know if you suck. um, so, if you're growing with new players, if you're establishing a new scene, and you're stepping up as the tournament organizer, with a new scene, everybody else is as new as you, so they're gonna be generous. And even the old heads that I've met, if you're reestablishing a scene, but you're a new TO, and they know that, you're gonna get the maximum benefit of the doubt. So, um, it's it seems scary, but it really shouldn't be, um, because if you do have the benefit of having some old heads around, you may even have some former TOs that'll help you with things like um, Netrunner DB and Cobra and always be running. So, and also using the tools such as Slack and Discord and Facebook and Reddit and getting on and asking people questions, you're going to get answers. You're going to get people to want to help.
Yeah. If I add on, I will say that y'all have put out some nice organized play policies. I think I agree with what you're saying that you don't have to be perfect as a starting TO, but if you're running a tournament and you're like, I gotta, if your mentality, I'm like this, where I'm like, I want to read up everything I can. Asking for people who've
Uh-huh.
done it before for standard advice is really good. Like, hey, what should I keep in mind? But also, there's a lot of great stuff you can read about running a really good tournament in the organized play policies. So if you go to organizers on the Nisei website, you go to organized play policies. There's what do you do if somebody like, speeds through. What do you do if somebody like accidentally reveals a card that they shouldn't have done? How do cuts work? What is legal? What is not legal? What's a 2-for-1? There's a lot of really really helpful stuff on here, and you do not need to have this all memorized to run an event. And you can run an event and after the fact look at this document like, oh, I should have done that differently. That's fine, but um, just know that like there's good advice for you if you want to run an event um, here. And a lot of times, if you're like, what should I be doing about this, and you look at this document or you ask for advice, you're gonna feel better going forward. I especially am a big fan of the part where it talks about like what to do for different infractions because um, I think Netrunner in general just has awesome I'm going off on a tangent here, but I love how we deal with infractions in terms of like um, you as a TO you have good latitude to interpret things in the best way for your players, while at the same time you have like good guidelines to like make sure things are fair. I love it. Yeah. Anyway, I just want to talk about how much I love the organized play policies.
Yeah, yeah, and in addition to the organized play policies, which are great, and I really got to give shout outs to Jeff here for making some changes recently. There are more changes to come to this document. There's a lot more that we need to add. We do want to add things on like accessibility. We're going to get to it eventually, but like speaking of accessibility, just before I proselytize another document here. Um, as far as accessibility goes, as TOs, one of the things that you should be really aware of that this document goes over is that there are round extensions. So if you do have folks with disabilities that come to your tournaments, sight and hearing are two that may most commonly be involved in this, but also dexterity, such as shuffling decks. Um, you can do accommodations to those players, and you can offer round extensions that we're actually going to formalize as a policy in this document a little later. But in addition to this document, there's another document, the comprehensive rules document. And Sanjay, you were saying this is your favorite document. The organized play policy is your second favorite.
Yeah.
So the comprehensive rules, um, it's a massive document. You're not supposed to read this cover to cover. You can, but that's a little weird. What's really great about this is you get familiar with the search function on your keyboard or your phone. If you have a question that comes up, you literally search for the word like advancement. If it's on advancement tokens, you have a question on that. And then you go through what you can find on advancement. I guarantee 9 times out of 10 or 9.9 times out of 10, you are going to find the type of rule that you need to read and look for to answer that question. Worst case scenario, if you can't find it in this document, you can go on Slack. You can go on GLC. You can go on Reddit. I probably wouldn't. It's more of a
It's
forum,
not
and you're not
time
going to get an
intensive.
instant
Yeah.
answer.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you can go on our online communities and you can ask people, "Hey, how do I deal with this situation that I can't seem to find the answer to?" And more often than not, you're going to get an answer that says, "This is what you should do." And in the really comprehensive answers, they'll say, "It's this section of the comprehensive rules." So we keep hammering on this, but as TOs and new players, there shouldn't be a fear in asking questions. Like just ask any question you have, and more often than not, you're going to get an answer, and you're going to get a really good answer. But if you want to try to answer your own questions and definitely make yourself more efficient as a TO, this document's super awesome. I love this document. Shout outs to Jamie for heading up the rules team and all of Jamie's staff who are amazing people whose names I would also shout out if I knew all of them. I am so sorry I don't know all of your names off the top of my head. But they're amazing people and they did awesome work here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this CR is such a boon to people, and like, it is to me like the just such a great document to have. And while I was personally okay as a casual player in the era of Twitter Lucas rulings, I think this is the right way to do it. And this document does, like, it's sometimes a little non-intuitive to me where stuff is stored, but it is a great repository of resource. And again, if you're a tournament organizer, you make a ruling and then you go back later and check the CR, you were wrong. that is 100% a-okay. It is not a problem. We are all human. There's some level of expectation that people will get things wrong.
Yeah.
But this document's a huge help in giving you some confidence that you'll be able to at least get to an answer that you can justify.
I'll also
Um,
say if you're, you don't have to go to the comprehensive rules every time you're not sure about a ruling. Like, it's okay to just like do your
Hmm.
best. But one really good resource you have as a judge or a TO, if you're ever running an event and it's a timed event and you're like, hey, I need a little bit more time to answer, you can give that table a time extension. And so you say, hey,
Hmm.
it took me a while to resolve that judge call. Um, your time is 5 minutes extended, or 10 minutes extended if you took a really long time. And that way, they're not like, oh, we went to time because you took so long to resolve that question. And also another great resource you have is that when you have your ruling, you ask the two players like, does that make sense? Is everybody cool? Are we all good? And if everybody's good, we're good, Um, make people feel, be upfront with your players and you're going to be good. Um, Netrunner, it helps that Netrunner players are so lovely because it makes them fun to TO for.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And that's actually one of my strategies as a TO is up front when you go to a table at a judge call. Um, if I have to look something up, if I'm reaching for my phone or a laptop, the very first thing I say is, I don't know. I'm going to have to look that up. If it takes me a while, I'm going to offer you a time extension, so sit tight. Those are almost always the first words out of my mouth after I've listened to what the issue is, if I'm going to reach for my phone. So, um, really, when you tell people that, it really diffuses any sort of issue that they're going to have waiting for their answer.
That's a nice, yeah. I like the idea of telling them right off the bat. That's slick.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah, it's just super super easy way to do it, and then right up front they know, hey, if even if this takes 15 minutes, we're still good. We still have time to play our games. What the hell is the other thing I was going to say? Oh, going back to making wrong rulings. Unfortunately, I do have to inform everybody that's still listening to us that is a prospective new TO. There is 100% probability that you are going to mess something up. I hate to say it, but it's something that we just kind of have to accept as TOs. We're not going to be perfect, and it's not about being perfect. It's about being fair, doing what you think is fair, um, being unbiased, and again, bringing the fun. So the fact that we're not always going to get it right every time is not something that we should be overly concerned about. Should you always strive to get the right answer? Sure, absolutely. Um, but Jeff is right. You know, perfect is the enemy of good, and all we need to run awesome tournaments is judges and TOs that are good enough.
I love it. Um, I think that's a good answer to the question of how people can get into TOing, and how they can be the best TO possible. Um, why don't we wrap things up with me asking each of you, what are you excited about? We've talked about some of the really awesome events coming up this year. Get those hotels by September 8th if you want them. But what are you excited about for organized play in 2023 and beyond?
Josh, do you want to go first on this one?
Uh, sure. I'm
I
excited
do have
to.
something ready, but go ahead.
Okay, I'm excited to deliver things in a more timely manner. Honestly, I really, I really want to apologize to the community that the opener kit came out a third of the way through the year, and the nationals came out like halfway through the year. Hopefully, fingers crossed. I can't guarantee that there's no delays, but hopefully these kits are going to be ready for the circuit opener. The first month or the second month of the year, and then nationals. The second or third month of 2023, and we get it delivered into Tio's hands in a super timely manner. I would really, really love to move up the time scale on those particular tournament kits, and I am super excited to do that. If we can get out, especially the circuit opener kit, right after December, right as we're looking to hopefully, this is another fingers crossed, release Parhelion. Um, I'm not saying that we have a release date for that, so nobody take it that way. And I'm not saying that we're absolutely going to have that set out. So big grain of salt, not my department. But if that's coming close to the release of the circuit opener kits, or vice versa, ours are slightly after or they're slightly after. Um, that season kickoff is going to be wonderful, and I'm super excited for that.
Yeah, that should be
Yeah,
really cool.
I think
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I think that's the big. I think that's the big thing is like this year. Like I joined in the middle of this year, and it was a small team. I think we're learning how to be a more functioning team. So even though our release schedule was not what we hoped for, I think we're setting up the right ground foundation and figuring out how to integrate with the larger team at Nisei to make sure that we will actually get much closer to our goals. And I think there's also like a lot of possibilities for us to use some of the kits that we're making and host more kind of smaller informal events. One of the things that I would love to start doing, and is probably more on me to spearhead than Josh, is doing stuff like learn to play kind of tournament event stuff with prizes that we can send out to people. And so hopefully they'll be on the cards for next year. If not, and if that's something that you are interested in, please do contact me because I'd love to figure out more ways that we can use, especially reach out to online players that we basically say, oh, you get one, maybe two events a year if you do really well. I'd like to try and figure out ways we can support people that have a harder time making it to physical events for all sorts of reasons to feel more involved in our organized play kind of segment of Netrunner. So
That's great. All right. Any wrap up thoughts besides that? I think. Yeah.
I got one.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Go ahead and get your Continentals tickets. Everybody that's still listening, if you haven't. So APAC is going to close the 18th this week. So if you want to participate in APAC, make sure that you get your ticket, and that also you fill out the registration document, which there is a link to in that article, by the 18th. You can edit your registration up until the cutoff of ticketing and registration. So even if you're just going to put in your information and you want time to figure out your deck lists, and you want to put them at the absolute last minute, go ahead and get your tickets and start your registration, and then come back and add your deck lists. The same thing goes for the American Continental Championship and the Europe one. The registration on those ends the 25th and September 1st, respectively. You can pre-buy your tickets and pre-register on those if you would like. You can edit your registration, which will include your deck lists, up until the cutoff time of registration end. One thing to note is the registration link is the same for all three tournaments. I will be turning that off at registration end, and then not turning that back on until the end of whatever particular tournament we're talking about. So the the registration document's going to be cut off the 18th and then won't be turned back on until the 21st as far as APAC goes. And then ACC and EAC, same thing. Is we're going to be turning off the registration form while the tournaments themselves are going. So just get your tickets, register, get involved. It's going to be a lot of fun. I myself, when online play was the only option, was getting burned out on it too. But it is such a fantastic option to have, and we're going to have that in-person option later in the year with Worlds. I really, when these aren't the only option, I really still do enjoy online play, and I think it's so great that we have Gintechie.net as a tool for our community. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I guess I can just keep begging, please come, but I already said that a bunch.
Jeff, you want to close this out?
I think I'm going to leave it actually on Josh's thing.
Yeah, that's
Please come out
good.
to Worlds, and yeah, let's just call it a wrap there.
Yeah, that sounds great. I've been Sanjay. You can check my stuff out in places. I posted around. I'm around Netrunner stuff. In addition to doing great stuff with Nisei, Josh has a really excellent podcast on about Netrunner that I love. If you are not familiar with Slumscast, you should check it out. It's delightful. And Jeff has really stepped up his. I mean, always did pretty nice work, but has really stepped up his game in terms of Netrunner analysis and his Twitch streams and his videos. Those you can find, I guess, associated with Jeff's screen name, Ysengrin. You should look up that stuff too. He's on YouTube, on Twitch. Anything else y'all want to plug? That's what I want to plug about you. Okay, yeah. Thanks for being here. Thank you, audience. Thank you, Comprehensive Rules Document. Thank you, Richard Garfield. See y'all later.